anyone can benefit from nutrition counseling, but it's particularly valuable for those managing chronic conditions. So things like diabetes, heart disease, celiac disease, anyone with specific dietary needs too. So, for example, if someone's following a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, if an individual is pregnant or breastfeeding, um, athletes too have increased nutrient needs. Really, anyone looking to make any type of lasting change in their health. Also, individuals who might be suffering from things like eating disorders or may have food sensitivities or digestive issues can definitely benefit from nutrition counseling. I always want to send the message that, although maybe there might be some anxiety for that first meeting, a lot of times by the end of that first meeting, our clients leave and they're a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more comfortable. So, if you haven't been to a nutrition counseling session before, that first meeting is usually the first assessment, right? So, you're going to be talking about your health history, dietary habits, lifestyle, any kind of goals or challenges that you might have. Our dietitians are also going to ask specific questions about medical conditions, maybe medications that you might be on, as well as, of course, nutrition related topics like your typical daily food intake. From there, we provide initial recommendations and a framework for developing kind of that personalized nutrition plan. We do one-on-one consultations both in person at our main office in Colchester, but we also do telehealth. So you would either be at our office, kind of in our comfy office space, or you could just be at your home or even at work. There's so many different questions that our clients ask us, and there's no wrong question to ask. You can ask anything. Some of the common ones that we do get would be kind of, can you help me understand as a dietitian what my specific nutrient needs are given whatever health condition I might have? Or just, hey, as a dietitian, can you look at my diet and provide me with recommendations? I feel like something might be missing. A lot of our clients too are just interested in, how do I balance my intake when I also have a family and I'm not just cooking for myself? Or maybe I don't even like to cook. What do I do then? How do I ensure a healthy diet? So, there's so many questions to ask, but I would say for someone who is curious about meeting with a registered dietitian, again, just come in, ask your questions, and the conversation ends up just flowing, and you'll get some recommendations. It's 100%. Often we talk with our clients about, yeah, what type of foods fit in my budget. It's one thing to say, to recommend a certain food, but if it's not in a client's budget, it doesn't really help them. So we speak specifically to, okay, where do you food shop? Are you the one who does the food shopping, or maybe it's someone else in your household? So that we can get into the specifics and help you with that budget, but also filling in maybe some of the spaces where you're lacking in things like fiber, for example. How can we be a little bit more budget friendly when it comes to purchasing fruits and veggies? A lot of times I recommend that people definitely, shop in season if you can and shop locally. But if not, frozen fruits and veggies are a great alternative and are typically less expensive. So my number one tip is to make a list. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard that before, but it really does help, right? So if we're making a grocery list, that means hopefully we've developed, a little bit of a meal plan for the week so that, we're not going to the grocery store and then making some impulse purchases, spending more money so that now we're, outside of our budget. So I would say making a list is my number one. Also, I mentioned shopping seasonally if you can and locally, if not the frozen option. And then also looking for sales on the most expensive items, which typically are our fruits and veggies, of course, but also our protein. So if you see that, whether it be, chicken or tofu or beans, whatever your proteins of choice are, I would say stocking up on those when they are on sale. So you'll always have something on hand. I would say my top tip right now, just because of the season, at least here in New England, where it's very cold, um, I would say to really get back into focusing on eating the rainbow, if you will. So, getting a variety of colors on your plate can be really hard during the winter months when typically it's that comfort food we want, which happens to just be a little bit more beige, right? Things like mashed potatoes. I think about macaroni and cheese. I think about, kind of the squashes and things like that, which aren't necessarily the most colorful, definitely can provide a lot of nutrition. But what happened to maybe some of our green vegetables? What about, blue? Can we incorporate red onto our plate? So the more color you get onto your plate during meal times, at snacks, that means the more variety of nutrients you're getting. So I would say kind of eat the rainbow, as we've probably all heard before, would be my tip. Um, but when it comes to what you could start doing now, I mean that's something you could do. But I guess another thing to piggyback on that would be to really just focus on hydration. Water is something I think specifically in the winter months. It's not as hot, right? We're kind of cold. We don't think about thirst and drinking as much, but it's just as important that during the colder weather, we're hydrating. So, one easy thing I often encourage my clients to do right away in the morning when you wake up, the first thing I want you to do is have a glass of water. Before you get your coffee, your tea, whatever else, start with water. This is a great question. And this is another question we often get from clients. And my response is that, supplements are meant to be used when your needs cannot be met via food. And we have to remember that supplements are going to be very symptom and condition specific. So, right, if we know that we're deficient in a certain nutrient because we've had lab work done, for example, someone with iron deficiency anemia, we would go ahead and say, okay, yeah, it's recommended that you do supplement with iron. Other individuals who are following maybe certain diets, so again, kind of a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, based on what that individual's intake is of food, we might recommend a certain supplement. Other conditions where your needs are increased. So, for example, like an athlete, they might need more of a certain nutrient that they can't necessarily get enough of in their diet, or for whatever reason, they're not consuming certain foods that provide that nutrient. We might supplement. As someone who's pregnant or breastfeeding, their needs are also increased, and sometimes it's really difficult to get it all from food. So, we would recommend a certain again supplement to help out with that. So I guess just remember it's very condition specific. If people do have questions on it, I always recommend working with their dietitian or a dietitian so they can look at, your individual nutrient intake based on what you eat day to day. Anybody who has questions on their diet, on their nutrition, what foods, would benefit them the most, or if someone does have certain condition or is just curious about nutrition and wants to learn more even about the science of nutrition, it is always beneficial to sit down with a registered dietitian, especially because a lot of health insurance plans do cover at least one, if not three or more visits with a registered dietitian. So I would say if you are even the slightest bit curious about how nutrition can really impact your life, your mood, your energy levels, do reach out. You can reach out to Whole Health Nutrition on our website, wholehealthnutritionvt.com. You can also check us out on social media. We are at Whole Health Nutrition VT on both Facebook and Instagram. And if you're, someone who is kind of just new to this whole idea about how nutrition even kind of plays a role in our health, I would just start with some easy, low hanging fruit that you can start doing right now. So, something like having a glass of water instead of maybe a soda, or maybe it's adding in maybe some fruit as a snack this afternoon, or just having one extra serving of veggies today. That's the best way to really kind of kickstart and get into this groove and understand that nutrition does play a huge role in your health mentally and physically.